Human sexual behavior has always fascinated scientists, philosophers, and ordinary people because it represents one of the most complex interactions between biology, psychology, culture, and personal meaning. To really understand why individuals develop certain preferences, why some positions during intimacy become especially significant, and why these practices have persisted across generations, we need to move beyond the surface and explore the science that underlies them. Sexual behavior is never just mechanical. It is always loaded with evolutionary logic, neurological responses, emotional connections, and cultural interpretations. The way people choose to connect physically says something about their biology, their brain chemistry, their inner psychology, and the larger society that shapes their beliefs about what is acceptable, exciting, or taboo. The scientific study of sexuality has not always been welcome for centuries. That began to change in the mid-20th century when Alfred Kinsey and his team conducted extensive interviews about private behavior. Kinsey's reports shocked and intrigued the world by showing just how diverse human practices were. What had been thought of as rare, strange, or abnormal turned out to be quite common. People admitted to enjoying a wide variety of positions, including rear entry styles where one partner receives penetration from behind. Far from being unusual, Kinsey revealed that such preferences were widespread and enjoyed across many groups. His work broke the silence and made it possible for future scientists to study sexuality with the seriousness it deserves. Following Kinsey, William Masters and Virginia Johnson took the next bold step by bringing sexual activity into the laboratory. They measured muscle contractions, blood flow, and hormonal responses, showing that different positions lead to different physiological effects. One consistent finding was that postures allowing deeper penetration produced more pronounced reactions, especially among women. Rear entry positioning in particular was found to stimulate areas that other positions did not always reach, creating unique sensations. For female participants, this angle often meant that the internal structures of the body received a type of stimulation not as easily achieved otherwise. When we look at rear entry positioning from the perspective of evolutionary biology, it becomes clear that this is not an invention of modern humans. It is one of the most ancient mating strategies observed across the animal kingdom. Many mammals mate in this configuration, not out of our cultural influence, but because it works. It provides balance and stability, allowing the act to be completed efficiently. It also facilitates deeper placement of reproductive material closer to the cervix, which increases the odds of conception. From this standpoint, the persistence of this position through human history is less about fashion or personal taste and more about evolutionary effectiveness. Archaeological artifacts, cave paintings, and symbolic depictions from ancient civilizations show that humans have been aware of and practicing this posture for tens of thousands of years. Its survival across eras and cultures suggests that it fulfills fundamental biological functions that transcend time. But biology alone never explains the full story of human behavior. There are many things the human body can do that not everyone chooses to do. Preferences emerge when biology interacts with psychology. Researchers have explored how personality traits shape what people find appealing. Studies have noticed, for example, that individuals who enjoy rear entry arrangements often score higher on sensation-seeking measures. Sensation seekers crave experiences that are intense, novel, or unpredictable, and this particular posture often provides a heightened sense of intensity. Its physical sensations are stronger, and the experience carries elements of surprise because of the altered angle of contact and the unique psychological dynamic it creates. For those who thrive on intensity, this can be especially appealing. Psychology also shows that the power dynamic involved in rear entry positioning can matter. The arrangement places the entering partner behind, while the receiving partner faces away. This automatically alters the flow of control and perception. Some individuals experience this dynamic as exciting because it engages themes of dominance and submission. For others, it heightens vulnerability and therefore deepens trust. Whether people interpret the posture as empowering, playful, or intimate depends on their personality and on the relationship context. The same position can be experienced as thrilling, freeing, or even deeply romantic, depending on the psychological frame in which it occurs. Hormones also play an invisible role in shaping these preferences. Female desire is influenced by the menstrual cycle, with estrogen levels peaking around ovulation. During this time, sexual desire typically increases, and positions that allow deeper penetration become more appealing. From an evolutionary standpoint, this makes sense. When fertility is highest, the body subtly guides behavior toward configurations that maximize the chances of conception. Some women report that they crave rear entry styles more strongly at these points in the cycle, which may be the body's way of aligning desire with biological fertility. The neurological dimension adds another fascinating layer. The internal anatomy of the female reproductive system is richly supplied with nerve endings, but not evenly distributed. Some regions respond more strongly to surface contact, while others respond more intensely to deeper pressure. Rear entry positioning allows stimulation of zones that are not always reached in other configurations, such as areas surrounding the cervix. These tissues contain special receptors that, when activated, send powerful signals to the brain. These signals travel along distinct neural pathways, creating a unique sensory profile. The subjective experience is not simply more sensation, but a different kind of sensation altogether. This neurological activity is accompanied by the release of brain chemicals. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward and pleasure, surges with intense stimulation. Oxytocin, known as the bonding hormone, is also released, but not uniformly. Certain kinds of stimulation trigger stronger or different patterns of oxytocin release, which the brain uses to tag the experience as meaningful. This means that particular positions may become associated with stronger feelings of closeness, emotional bonding, or significance. People may prefer rear entry not only because it feels physically intense, but also because the neurochemistry leaves them feeling uniquely connected or satisfied afterward. Trust and safety are also encoded in the brain. From a neurological point of view, turning one's back to a partner during intimacy could be perceived as risky, since it reduces the ability to read facial cues or anticipate movement. The amygdala, the brain's fear center, could in theory interpret this as a vulnerability. Yet when trust is present, that fear response quiets down. Instead, the prefrontal cortex, associated with rational decision-making and emotional regulation, becomes more active. This shows scientifically that comfort with this positioning depends on a foundation of trust. People who feel secure in their relationship experience it as pleasurable and freeing rather than threatening. Culture, too, cannot be ignored. Across societies, this same posture has been interpreted in dramatically different ways. In some cultures, it has been considered ordinary and unremarkable, simply one option among many. In others, it has been stigmatized, associated with animalistic behavior, or considered improper. These cultural meanings often reveal more about gender roles and societal values than about the act itself. Where societies emphasize male dominance, the posture is often framed as reinforcing hierarchy. Where equality is stressed, it might be frowned upon as unbalanced. In modern media, it is frequently coded as adventurous or wild, adding another layer of cultural narrative that shapes how individuals think about it. The intersection of personal desire and cultural storylines is powerful. A woman who expresses preference for rear entry positioning is not only revealing her own physical enjoyment, but also navigating cultural messages. She may be aware of the taboo, the judgment, or the associations tied to it, and choosing to embrace it anyway reflects a willingness to stand against those narratives. For some, this becomes liberating, a way to reclaim ownership of their sexuality from cultural constraints. For others, it is simply a private choice that has nothing to do with wider society. But the cultural undertones are always present in the background. Women who enjoy this positioning are, in a sense, expressing confidence. Confidence in themselves, in their ability to communicate boundaries, and in their partner's respect. The paradox is that while the entering partner appears to have control, the receiving partner maintains ultimate authority because the act only continues with her consent and participation. Attachment theory offers more insight. People with secure attachment styles, formed through healthy early relationships, are generally more comfortable with intimacy and trust. They may feel safer in positions that require turning away because they do not carry deep-seated fears of abandonment or betrayal. Those with anxious or avoidant attachment patterns may struggle more with this posture, not because of the mechanics, but because the vulnerability stirs unresolved fears. When a woman expresses enjoyment of rear-entry intimacy, it often reveals that she is secure enough to allow herself vulnerability without fear, trusting enough to turn away while still feeling safe, and confident enough to know that her agency remains intact.